Welcome to Spiritual as Fuck.
Spiritual as Fuck.
A podcast where we explore everything outside of the ordinary. I'm Liz Volpe. I'm a social entrepreneur, now psychic medium, teacher and mentor, with a huge passion to inspire people to dream big and change the world.
I'm Diane Driscoll, a coach, facilitator and speaker. I'm also a psychic intuitive, learning to incorporate my spiritual gifts into my life and business.
We're here today to share real and raw spiritual stories. It's going to give you a safe space to challenge what's normal and have some serious fun along the way.
We hope you're ready to get spiritual as fuck. Before we jump into the intuition era, we have a quick announcement. So after an awesome experience in June, we are back with our second Spiritual as Fuck, the channel online event. So no matter where you are across the globe or in the higher realms, you can join us on Zoom at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, 26th of July. To find out more and grab your tickets, check out spiritualaf.co/events. So today we have an interesting episode that is about to unfold. We have done previous episodes where Liz and I have shared about our spiritual awakening experiences, but so much has happened since that for both myself and for Liz, and I'm sure for any person who's listening to this. So today we decided to actually have a look under the cover and look at some of the things of the evolution of our spiritual journey. So today we're going to shine the spotlight on Liz, and we're going to take a look at from where she started out, her evolution of her spiritual gifts to where it is today, and what she's actually doing with them in her life and her business. And knowing Liz, because she is a teacher at heart, she's going to give us some exercises and some things along the way as well. So Liz, start us off. How are things evolving for you on your spiritual journey?
Wow, I mean, look, I'm not going to bore you with all the details, Diane. But yeah, I mean, every single breadcrumb that has been dropped, in front of me since that spiritual awakening has just been so profound. And, even looking back now, when the spiritual awakening happened and I found myself as a medium and I started to learn psychic readings, there was always such an undercurrent of knowing that that wasn't why I'd had the spiritual awakening. And throughout learning the craft, I was given these little breadcrumbs like, you got to teach this,
Yes, okay.
Pass the information on. So it was constantly there at the back of my mind. And it was kind of a little bit obvious because my previous careers, I've come from a background of constantly delivering information. I've been an educator. So it's, a passion. I'm a natural messenger, I feel, in life.
Yeah.
But there was a turning point, and this was kind of about probably a year in, and I'd been doing, lots and lots of readings. I'd kind of gone through the mediumship journey, and then I'd started to work on psychic readings. And when you think about psychic senses, they're slightly different to develop. Okay, you kind of operate on a slightly different frequency. And I was learning.
Can you dig into that, to just the difference between what it was for you, between what the mediumship readings versus the psychic readings, so people understand? Because I'm sure it makes sense to you, but even me, that's like, oh, okay, something different.
It's almost like operating on a different vibration is the easiest way to kind of put it. So to connect with a spirit or a loved one, I recognized that my vibration would have to be as high as physically possible. And my channel, I'd find a way to open my channel to bring through somebody. Whereas when you operate with psychic senses, it's actually more on an intuitive basis. And I'll kind of come back to this.
Yeah. Okay. No, but that's good even for me. It's like, okay, I'm following you. Good.
And it's interesting because I know my mentor, Lindy, who's been on the podcast, said really early on, every medium is a psychic, yes, but not every psychic is a medium. And it is two different things, right? So I started as the medium. I kind of learned all of the hard stuff and then came back to the psychic senses. And when I learned the psychic senses and I started to do, reading after reading after reading, I was going through huge awakenings thinking like, holy shit, this stuff has always been there for me.
Yeah.
This is intuition. So I was learning this stuff and remembering, you know, all of these things that had happened through life. And then what became really clear to me was this frustration that I started to feel when I was actually doing readings for people.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, why, Diane, you answer this, why do people come or go for a psychic reading?
Why do you go for psychic? Well, I can speak for myself. So I've been for many readings, and I called them fortune tellers back in the day. But for me, it was, the unknown, wanting to know things that are somewhat outside of your control, what's going to happen. So I haven't always done ones to get in touch with a spirit on the other side or a person who's passed. It has mostly been for guidance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I started to find. So people would book a reading with me and they'd have questions like, shall I take this job? When will I move house? What shall I do about this guy? You know, and it was all for either guidance, for support to find out and figure out the answer to something. It's for help. It's actually for help, right? And as I was delivering the things that had come through to me for that person, it started to frustrate me. Well, it dawned on me, well, actually, everybody has the information to this stuff. It's not just me. And it started to kind of grind on me like, wait a minute, I shouldn't just be the person to deliver them the answer. What I should be doing is teaching them how to do what I do. And that was the pivoting moment of going, wait a minute. The more I broke down my journey, I started to understand outside of myself, so externally to all of us, taking a giant step back, why aren't we intuitive? Why? We've all got the power to. And suddenly it was like, boom, of course. We are conditioned massively, but we live in, the computer age, the digital age, the information era. Like, think about our lives. We are surrounded and we learn everything to do with being online. Every bit of answer is about quickly go and Google it. Now we've got artificial intelligence tells us every single answer that we need.
Absolutely. It's going up a whole other level.
And all of this fast way of living, this thinking, like constantly living in your head, trying to figure out the answers, get the answers to decisions. Everything has conditioned us to naturally go to the rational thinking mind. Right. Or go externally to get the answers. So think about it. From the moment that we were born, Diane, we have been taught to go and find the answers from externally. When what I realized was, wait a minute, we don't need to actually do that. We have got every single answer inside. And intuition is literally the world's best kept secret.
Oh my God. Oh my, I'm having a moment as I do. Like when you say that about it being the best kept secret. So everything that you've just said, I'm having parallels thinking about the work that I do in my own business and my own journey. And the model that I use for coaching, your inner compass. Now, it's not based on intuition. That was never, I've been doing this for a long time, even before my spiritual awakening. But at the end of the day, it is all of that. It's really self-leadership, self-reliance on yourself. It's making those decisions, not necessarily, yes, you can sense externally for where you are and things, but you're not actually going outside for all of the answers and the information. And the more spiritually awakened or the more in touch with my psychic gifts, I realize it's like my model is not changing, but the how I use it or how I coach my clients becomes more intuitively led or more tapping into their senses, which is, so I've been doing this all along, but not realizing necessarily what I'm doing.
That's right. So half of our life's problems exist because we live in that rational thinking mind. And I'll explain this. Think about when you really need the answer to something and it's something that's challenging you and you're having sleepless nights and, it's really hard. And when you process the information and try and come up with the answer in your brain, you tend to go round and round in circles. You'll come up with a yes, a no, a yes, a no, or, you change your mind 100 times. When you go externally and speak to your friend, your neighbor, your mum, your dad, and every other person to try and get information, It over confuses everything. You then overthink, it develops stress, worry, anxiety, and you live in your head.
Yeah.
So what I realized was that all disconnects you. All you actually need to do is really simple to have any type of intuition or psychic sense and literally get clarity in anything is just learn to reconnect. And now that's
Yeah.
what I teach.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is like, I mean, I'm sure everybody listening assumes that you and I we do have these kind of conversations daily, but it's like every time we do an episode, I learn a totally different level from you. And I know that one of the reasons we're even doing this podcast today is that, so for our listeners, Liz holds a monthly circle of, of people who've been brought together. And I think it was last month, Liz just decided she was going to do some teaching with us. And I saw a totally different side to Liz. So here was Liz, the teacher, which I had never experienced before. And it blew my mind because she gave us some challenges, gave us some stuff to do, gave us an exercise to kind of read into each other. And I was fascinated by the results. And if anything, it just made me, it was a turning point for me, just realizing that, yes, I talk about self-reliance, I talk about self-leadership, and I, coach people on this. But this was a whole other level of that. So it really is, there's like an inner confidence that goes with this as well, that you just have to catch yourself in the moment of, oh, I'm going to ask, I'm going to ask my mom, I'm going to ask my partner, I'm going to check with a teacher, whatever it might be that you're about to check in with someone else. And it's like, oh, red flag.
No.
What if I just do it for myself? Because I am definitely in the last year way more self-led, way more just figuring stuff out for myself. But, and this is a more personal share, so I'm interested to see what you think, Liz, but I have always been the person who uses cards like for me. They're not for anybody else. And I'm not seeking or maybe actually there's a shift in my evolution. I used to seek external guidance through doing the cards. Now I use the cards to get in touch with my higher self. So it is my inner compass, my spirit, my higher self. It's not thinking, oh, the universe has the answer, or an angel or a spirit guide has the answer. It's actually to get my thinking brain out of the way.
Exactly. Yeah. Any spiritual tools, pendulums, oracle cards,
Yes.
really are tools just to give you validation on what your intuition already tells you. Because half the time, or how many times do you pull out a card? I knew that was going to come out. You have that feeling all the time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. But I do think that there is, so even when you do pendulum, when you do, whether it's dowsing rods, whatever it might be, whatever your tools are, there's loads of people who probably think that they're connecting with something outside of themselves to get that answer, but that's not always the case.
Well, I mean, look, I've learned a lot about energy on this journey, and energy plays a part in really everything to do from intuition to connecting with your soul, your higher self. And that's really what oracle cards and pendulums tap into. They use the energy around you. But the key really to anything is just to shut out the noise. Like, this is where everything starts. You've got to shut out the noise. And the minute that you do that, that very quiet whisper of intuition starts to develop. But it's a process. It's very much like developing a muscle. You can't go and read every book about intuition or just listen to me telling you today to actually make that little voice louder. It really takes practice, and there's certain things that you can do to start to develop not just intuition, but also those psychic senses as well.
So what do you recommend if there is, because I firmly believe, yes, we can gather all the knowledge, and there's lots of us who are learners or very inquisitive. And one of the things we do in the podcast is we always give like homework or, give people challenges for what they can do. Because if you don't apply your learning, if you don't practice it, then you're actually not shifting the dial. You're not really fulfilling the knowledge that you have if you don't apply it into action. So is there anything that you can recommend for us? Sorry, I'm happy to be a guinea pig.
All right, well, we'll come to that. Before even anything at all, you have to have and start to have this self-awareness. Okay, so myself, you, Diane, every listener is going to receive information in a different way. So when I talk about intuition, it's not just a gut feeling or just a hunch. All right, it comes in many different ways, and the ways are through your psychic senses. That's why I always say that every single person has psychic senses. It's just some people are a little bit more talented at recognizing them and following them and trusting them. But everybody has that underneath the surface. So we've got to start to have awareness to figure out, well, how does my intuition come? And there's, as an example, our body is one of the ways that it comes, and that's called physical intuition. Our body will always give us that answer to something, and that could be an answer. Wait, Diane, you're a really good example here. When you're on the right track, I literally see it all the time. You get a whole body shiver.
I do a good.
Like,
it's like, or the hands start to go. It's like, yep, I'm physical. Yeah.
You know, so you know that about yourself. Now, I never get that, but let's think about all the type of ways that our body can speak to us. It can speak to us through needing to move, needing exercise.
Yes. Yeah.
Your body tells you when you need a drink of water. That's intuition, right? As
craving food,
craving
certain
food,
things, yeah.
Needing exercise. You can get pressure in certain places. You can get different sensations. So you've got to start to allow yourself to be able to feel into your own body. All right. So that's kind of the first way to do it. A lot of us will get those strong feelings about things, you know, like a strong positive feeling, sometimes potentially a strong negative feeling.
Yeah.
And I've heard many stories from my students on like, I was walking down the road and I've just got this strong feeling that I should not go down that path. You know, things like that.
Yeah. Or you meet someone and you suddenly get a kind of a negative energy, or but you feel it physically in your body. It's like, you're kind of repelling from it. Yeah.
That's right. So when we start talking about the clair senses, so, you know, the first one that always, I guess, is the most popular is everyone knows clairvoyance. As an example. And it sounds kind of a bit
just
like
in case people don't. So just in case people don't, so let's not assume that everybody knows what clairvoyance is. So when you're explaining it to your students or your own interpretation of what clairvoyance is, what is that?
So clairvoyance is known as clear seeing. Okay, so it's almost seeing without the use of your physical eyes. It's seeing things like flashes, lights. When you close your eyes, you can actually kind of get flashes of images and lights. You're a visionary. A lot of business owners are clairvoyant, naturally clairvoyant. A lot of interior designers are naturally clairvoyant. They have this incredible ability to vision what something's going to look like.
Yes, and I would never have thought so on that session that I mentioned that so I would have thought, no way, I'm not clairvoyant in any way, not a hope. And I came out of that session with you thinking, I am way more clairvoyant than I ever thought. And a lot of it is even in the business sense. So like, I mean, if I'm in facilitating workshops and I'm being told about all of these issues that are going on in an organization, it's like, I can clearly see all of these things in my mind, and not just can I see, here's all the issues that have happened. Here is the path forward. So it's almost like sifting through. I can see this. No, it's not this. It's not this. It's not this. It's this, and this. Yes. And it's all visual coming to me, but I would never in a million years have considered that to be clairvoyant. And that's literally, like, we've only had this session in the last month. So I've been through my spiritual awakening. We're doing a podcast on this stuff, and I still didn't think that I had any of it. Like I said, I knew it's dormant in there somewhere, but I couldn't believe how much you made me realize that, I have this and I just need to tap into it more.
And that's why there's, like such a misconception with clairvoyance. We do picture, that, I don't know, that kind of person over a crystal ball calling himself a clairvoyant, but actually there's a lot of us that are naturally clairvoyant: photographers, builders, anyone that can look and put together plans, an architect, someone that's real visual in how they do things, and they just have an incredible ability to see what something is going to look like. That is clear seeing in a nutshell.
So if you're listening to this and this sounds like you, okay,
you're nodding along,
tune into that one. Absolutely. Yeah.
And someone who has a lot of dreams, real visual, crazy dreams as well. That's a big sign of receiving messages via dreams clairvoyantly. So, and lots of us are stood in the kitchen and see a flash of light on the corner of our eye. Like that type of a thing is all clairvoyance. Another one that works closely with clairvoyance is clairsentience. I know that you are
Yes,
highly clairsentient.
that is
I am a massive feeler. I am
even now, it's the minute you even say it, I can feel
feeler.
like my whole body just
Yeah. And this is really where I delve into energy like that. It's the ability to feel. Okay. When you walk into a room, you feel what somebody is like. You understand a lot about them before they even open their mouth. We have all experienced that. You know, we've all experienced getting a vibe off someone that's either positive or negative. We all experience like feeling, oh, I should definitely make this decision, and then making the wrong one. You know, like feeling the answer. Honestly, nearly every person I meet is clairsentient. I think it's such an uncovered skill that we can tap into and use so much in life to like figure things out for ourselves.
But it's like these are the things that we realize only through being taught by someone. So like I've read loads of books, like we chat daily, and still I'm having aha moments of realizing, oh, it's only because you've described it in this way that now I realize. But we dismiss things. So you get a feeling about something, but then the intellect overrides straight away. So, you know, we talk about the intuitive hits and how soft the voice is, but it's also how soft the feeling is. So whether it's physically in the body or, you know, whatever that sense that you're having, it's like there's a microsecond before the intellect comes in and wants to take over and think, well, here's all the stuff I know, and I think you should do this. But it's always louder. It's always, I find, from a place, or usually from a place of fear, that you're worried things are not going to work out, rather than all of those psychic senses are actually whispered a lot more. They're a lot more soft in how they're delivered to you.
So that's the constant battle in learning and to trust and follow intuition, is that your rational thinking mind is not only a hell of a lot louder, but it operates from a place of fear. So it's judgmental. It's always kind of from the negative fear, keep you in a box type place. So you've got to realize when you have a feeling about something, does your head kick in at that point and go, oh, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got to move out of the head. But I think once you've worked out how your information comes, then there's certain things you can do to do that.
Okay. I think it's important to say too that, like, you know, we talk about whether it's the ego or your intellect and that override, that voice that's a little bit louder that's in your head. At the end of the day, it's there to protect us. So if it knows, here's the status quo, here's how you're operating in your life, and, you know, you're not dead. So, you know, clearly something is being okay. So it's trying to keep you safe. So anything that comes in that's whispering to you to bring you off in a different direction, that might be, oh, buy this house, take this job, whatever, you know, it's trying to keep you either in indecision, because then you stay exactly where you are, you're not moving forward, or that, you know, oh, here's something that, because the brain knows you've done this 20 times before and you've come out the other side and you're still whole, then, okay, here's a safer path to take. So I think, you know, the ego gets a lot of bad rap, and our intellect does, but at the end of the day, its primary function is to keep us safe. But the majority of circumstances we're in, we don't need to be kept safe. It's not a matter of life and death. So giving ourselves permission to tune into these senses is such a big decision that we need to make, to kind of say, okay, I'm not going to be ruled by my intellect anymore, or even spend a week, spend 2 weeks, spend a month, you know, just.
Yeah, it is a commitment. Honestly, it has to be a decision where you go, from today on, I'm just going to try this, you know, 2 weeks. Let me see for 2 weeks if I can, number one, recognize when my ego speaks. Number two, feel into what's happening and make decisions differently for 2 weeks. And you just see the incredible miracles that start to happen.
Yeah. And I
hundreds and hundreds of times.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I would now almost consider myself a master manifester since I have started to do this, because it is a case of, if I'm doing, it's almost the exact opposite of what you would normally do, or at least it is for me, but I'm following those little hits. So you've said, so we've done what? Clairvoyance, clairsentience. Keep talking to me.
There's quite a few clairs, but the two other, I guess, key ones that I work within is claircognisance, which is clear feeling. Not clear feeling, sorry, clear knowing.
Yeah, which is mine as well. Yeah.
I mean, this is my fave. It's just that feeling, or that inner knowing where you're just given information, you have no idea where the information's come from. It can be
Yeah.
sometimes that you go like, wait a minute, has someone told me that before? And
Yeah.
you, wait a minute, how do I just know that piece of information? That's claircognizance. And that usually operates with another clair as well. And we all have one or two dominant clairs, all right, that we are naturally better at. But once you start and have awareness and start practicing your dominant clairs, then it has a ripple effect and it automatically knocks open every other clair. And then the other one is clairaudience, which is this ability to be able to hear, all right, this inner hearing. That can be as simple as not hearing a ghost. Okay, it's not scary. That's what I used to think. Like,
That's exactly where most people's mind goes.
Yeah.
Who's talking to me?
Most of us have clairaudience, but it's actually hearing our own voice give us the answer to something. So that's how
and
simple
again,
it
I
happens all the
never
time.
thought that I was like this until that session I had done with you. And I was like, holy shit, I do this. Like, I am such a talk to myself type person, but it's like, and I've heard you talk about this before, how things drop in. It's literally like a sentence or a word will drop in. And I find the difference between when I get the clairaudient, because I've been shooting into this a little bit more now, I realize it's louder than what I would call my intuition. So there's a little bit more definition to it. Like there's a bit of more gravity to it when it drops into my mind, and it's like, oh, okay.
Just to clarify though, it is your intuition.
Of course, they're all your into it, but I think it gave me, and again, probably because we're talking about this, you kind of dissect things or you observe things in different ways. So for me, it was like, oh, I just looked at that as intuition because I'm tuning into it now and thinking, am I more clairaudient? I'm now more aware. So maybe that's turned the volume up a little bit. I'm not sure, but I can still tell a difference between what I regard as being just my base intuition and now what I'm seeing as being clairaudient. It's like a step up from it. It's yeah.
And there's some real kind of key signs of clairaudient people again that you may have never thought about. Like you're a really great listener, like you tend to listen rather than talk. A lot of clairaudience love talking to animals and plants and are constantly just kind of connecting with things. A lot of clairaudience are like super telepathic, actually, believe it or not, as well, of just actually hearing information telepathically. So, like when your friend is talking to you and you have the ability to finish their sentence.
Yes. Yeah. Or twins. You think, twins who are able to finish each other's, or, close siblings. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is.
So it's interesting, right? So once you kind of look at what you are and how your messages come, it's really important to focus on it. So starting to do things like keeping a journal and starting to understand before you just make a decision from the place of your mind, sit down, center yourself, take a breath, feel the answer, set the intention to connect with your dominant clair and see if an answer pops in, because it will start to.
So I think I'm going to throw the challenge out to everybody who's listening at the moment. So based on everything that Liz has said, and feel free to rewind and re-listen to the clairs again, but even thinking about, are you more clairsentient? Are you more clairvoyant? Are you more claircognizant? Are you more clairaudient? Which one or two do you kind of resonate with and think, yeah, I think that might be it? Because that's probably your starting point for some of these exercises as well, or for journaling to kind of observe.
Absolutely. The most simple way to actually understand how intuition works is you've just got to think of yourself as a big antenna, like a radio antenna. I know it sounds really silly, but if your antenna is down and you're just kind of like going through life and operating robotically and figuring out your answers through information and Google and that type of stuff, your antenna is really far down. So you still might get bouts of intuition. Okay. When you're really happy, your intuition will be slightly louder because you're more clearer and your energy field is a little clearer.
Yeah.
But when you're going through a challenge, it's all the way down. You've got like, you're surrounded in metal, like nothing's going to come through. And what we've got to learn to do is to try and keep our antenna as high as possible so you can receive information clearer. It's like turning the radio when it's like you're trying to find that channel.
Yeah.
Fine tune it. And again, the energy field plays a really big part in this conversation, because we all have an aura, an energetic field, When we go out every single day and we mix with people and we're going through issues and problems, and we're with people that might have a really low, negative, more dense energetic field, like we do pick things up, it affects us. And we've got to learn to actually be able to clear our energetic field. And the key to any type of intuitive connection is to have the highest possible vibration and frequency that you can.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's about learning how to raise your vibe, and then you automatically will start to hear that intuition a lot louder.
So I know for me, and we've spoken about this on the podcast previously about Dr. David Hawkins' scale of consciousness. Like, I mean, for me, that, and again, I'm visual, but that raising my vibration, being in those feelings of love, of gratitude, being higher, like I will constantly be assessing myself and thinking, if I'm in the lower realms, how do I get myself back in? And I have my practices to be able to do it, but I am very conscious of trying to, yes, keeping my vibe high, not that I'm wearing the t-shirt, high vibes only. But that's what goes on in my mind. And when I find myself dipping, because I spent so many years with, mental health issues, that now it's like, I'm not going back there. Like it's a choice, it's a practice, it's a discipline. And you mentioned it at the beginning of this podcast. It's like, if we're not, you can read all the books, but if you're not doing the exercise, if you're not building the muscle, doing the practice, then you're not going to get yourself to start operating more at that level of high vibration, high frequency.
And again, we're in this information era, which brings us so far down.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's such a detox you have to do if you're going to make this commitment. Honestly, if you want to live a better life, which just comes down to connecting with your intuition, it will bring you everything and more. You've got to look at, well, what unhealthy practices do you have? You've got to detox the tech. You've got to take a very honest look at your friendships. Are you surrounding yourself with people that also operate on a high vibration? Or are you speaking to 90% of the time the friends that are going through severe problems, who are leaning on you a lot, who are sapping your energy? What are you watching before bed? We had Vincent Tallman a couple of episodes back.
Absolutely, yes.
Sharing the importance of what are you doing for the first half an hour and the last half an hour. For me, these small things will bring our vibration lower. And guess what? It's so easy to make it higher, like laughter, fun times, walking in nature. I know it sounds so cheesy. Getting out and actually connecting with the earth. Meditation, massive one to start to hear that voice of intuition. Journaling, massive one to increase awareness. So it's that commitment on going, let me just have more fun. Listen to some really great music, dance.
I'm going to offer another way of looking at this too, because I think sometimes people feel overwhelmed. It's like, when you need to go on a diet and, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't have the chocolate and I can't have the coffee and I can't have this and I can't have that. And it's, for me, I think I don't respond well when I spend time thinking about, here's all the stuff I need to eliminate. So I gravitate better. And that's probably why constantly thinking about, where am I at the moment? So it doesn't matter whether I'm eating, whether I'm exercising or not exercising, whatever it might be. It's more about, where is my vibration or my frequency right now? And what do I need to do? If it's low or lower than I want it to be, what do I need to do to shift it? So then if I'm constant, because those are the things that over time I realize, friends have dropped by the wayside, or, alcohol as an example. No longer, it's not that I don't drink alcohol, but I drink it way less. It just has almost zero interest to me anymore. But there are things but I never purposely went out and said, well, I'm giving up alcohol. It's more because I'm actually concentrating on raising my vibration, and I focus on what I can do, and almost like the happiness factor that goes with that, or that joy and awe and all those good things, rather than thinking I need to stop doing this and I have to go to the gym 3 times a week and I have to eat this, because those are they're actually low vibration, because your intention is low vibration and it's driving you, and you're not going to get there. So if you just start to think of, okay, what are the things that make me happy? And if it is, play the music in the morning, sing in the car, do the things that make you happy, do more of that, and assess yourself at the end of the day to say, how much of my day did I spend in the higher vibrational state rather than the lower, and what were the things that worked?
Exactly, because I'm not a saint. Let me tell you, I still have my glasses of wine on a Friday.
And like we don't want it, but like we're still here to have this physical experience. At the end of the day, I'm not interested in doing I don't want to be Buddha on a hill and sitting cross-legged. Yeah.
This is another misconception. Like, to live a spiritual
Yes.
life, you don't need to be like that at all. It's just that your sensitivity may shift. All right. So if you can focus on a short period of time on intensifying vibration, frequency, intuition, you then have such a good understanding, you know how to bring yourself back to the right vibration when you need to.
Yes.
I can do an exercise on this if you like.
Bring it on. Yes.
Does
that mean I'm a guinea pig for this? Does that mean?
So this is just a really simple energy exercise that I teach everybody, and it's very similar to what you've just said. Now, bearing in mind that absolutely every single thing is energy, okay? You can feel your own energy field really easily, all right? So if you just rub your hands together, Diane, if you're not obviously driving the car, but if you sat at home, you can, if you just keep rubbing your hands together and do it quite intensely, give them a really good rub as if you're freezing cold and you really want to heat it up, and then just really slowly start to pull your hands apart. And you should feel something a little bit like, I don't know, how would you describe it, Diane? Prickly.
It's kind of warm and fuzzy.
Warm and
prickly.
fuzzy. Yeah. So that's you feeling your energy, which is really good. That means that you're alive. Congratulations.
Yay.
But what you can do is actually keep rubbing your hands together again. You can start to hold your hands a few inches from your head, and you can start to sense your aura. Okay, so you can start to feel, and you can slowly move your hands away from your head, and you can feel the fuzziness on the different kind of fields of energy that you have around you. Okay, so hopefully by now we've proven that you can feel your own energy. So that's a nice simple one. But what I want you to do now is just put your feet on the floor.
Yeah.
Take a couple of really big deep breaths. And I just want you to center yourself. If you find it really hard to center, I got taught a really cool little trick. You just do a really short blow of air, almost like you're blowing some candles off a birthday cake. So you kind of got like a, okay, it's impossible to not be in the now when you're doing those blowing the candles out. All right. So it's just a very quick recentering that you can do with yourself. And now what I want you to do is just close your eyes and set the intention to connect with your own energy. All right. So I want you to almost visualize where your energy field is, how far it goes out to the sides, up above. And I want you to put your palms up. And again, this is intuitively get this answer. If you were to think about your energies in 0 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, what number would you say you are at in terms of your energetic connection and your intuitive connection right now?
8.
8? That's pretty good. So I'm guessing that you're feeling quite good today?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good. All right.
We're podcasting. Of course I am.
Of course you are. All right, you can open your eyes now. That's one exercise that every single morning I'll do. Okay, where is my energy at? It's about being honest. All right, if I am feeling tired, if I've got something going on, more than likely it can be at a 4. Now, I'm not going to suddenly go try and jump from a 4 to a 10. What I'm going to do, though, is make a commitment to look at, well, what can I do right now to make me a 5? Or how can I get myself to a 6 to ensure that I do not miss any intuitive information today? So you can just move yourself up slowly through a week. It keeps you in more of it keeps your energy open. It keeps your intuition louder. It keeps your manifestation energy open. And you don't start to overthink and miss things. Because when you're overthinking, you miss the intuition. That's when you find yourself in bad situations.
Yes, absolutely. Can I ask why did I have my palms out? What was the reasoning for that?
I just wanted you to look silly. No, I'm joking. Well,
that's easily done.
We have obviously our key chakras all the way down our body. What a lot of people don't know is that we do have them on the palms of our hands. So we have energy centers on the palms of our hands. We're all born to be healers. We can all heal ourselves energetically using our palms. So whenever you do anything such as meditation, connected with energy, if you need to know an answer and you want to go inside quickly to figure something out, just sit with your hands up as well. See what comes.
Okay.
It's like being open to receive.
And that is what came to me. It was like, am I receiving the answer to this, which again made me go into my mind and thinking, okay, but does that mean I'm receiving it from external? Because I want to be receiving it from myself. It's like, yeah,
well,
that
again,
insight
your
into how
energy
my
field is
brain works.
huge, right?
Yeah.
Like your energy field isn't just here. There's 7 layers of your energetic aura.
Yeah.
It's huge. So think about it. If you are an energetically sensitive person, all right, you are stepping outside of your front door, almost like throwing out a net into the ocean. All right.
Yeah.
You troll your way through your day, picking up everybody's shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to do things to ground and protect yourself, again, to live a connected, intuitive life.
Yeah. As you say that, because even when you're asking about the aura field and that, and a practice that I've done very much this year is really visualizing. So I don't think in terms of aura, but I think in terms of my torus field. So it's like the electromagnetic field around my body is the same as the field that's around the earth. But I every day consider about building that and amplifying that. So it was like, oh, when you made me stop and think about it, so it wasn't myself sensing this, it was you, it was an external person asking me. I was like, wow, it's so much bigger than it used to be when I started out doing this practice. So I just feel I have, it's almost like a confidence and a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a boundary, that this is my energetic boundary. This is me going out and meeting people, rather than it being like your aura or thinking that it's very close to you. The more you can kind of set that energetic boundary yourself, I think is a really good practice to think in terms of as well.
Yeah. And everything is really around expanding the energy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. That's my word for the year. Expansive. That's why it was.
It's putting the antenna up as high as possible.
Yes.
It's expanding it out so you can receive the information.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting when you delve in, because you can imagine, like, at first when you start practicing intuition, like, you want those amazing, huge bits of information, that change the world.
Yeah.
And actually, when you start practicing intuition, what tends to come first are these just really silly things, and you just become highly attuned to what's going to happen. That can be, you've planned a party and your friend goes, I'll be there. And instantly you get a, no, you won't.
Yes.
You can't turn around and go, actually, I intuitively, I've just been told that you're not going to be there.
Yes.
It's information just for you.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to share it all with the world. Yeah.
That's right. But what happens is you'll start to get validation over and over from the small things. That builds your confidence to trust when you need to follow your intuition on your big things. And that's why the power of a journal in this scenario is so important. Because if you can just start to note down those crazy, silly things that happen all the time, you start to collect a book of evidence. And the more pages you fill in of evidence that your intuition is bloody right, then when you need to decide whether you sell the house or not, or move overseas, and it's such a big weighing of information on your shoulders, it becomes a lot easier.
It's so funny you say that, because I don't know how long I'm listening to you saying about journaling and how important it is. And like, I was a journal. I do journal, but I don't journal. I haven't been journaling my insights or my intuitive hits. And even now, as you're saying it, it's like, I keep thinking to myself, I need to do that. And then I question myself, well, why aren't I doing it? Because if you're not a person, if things require a little bit of effort if you're going to make changes like that, that's a given. But if journaling is not your thing, is there another way that
said this?
Oh, okay. Did I have an intuitive hit that you wanted me to answer this question?
Because I physically hate journaling.
Oh, really?
I've never journaled ever in my life.
Oh my God, I'm such a writer.
Okay. I'm going to tell you the difference. What do you think is journaling? Or what do you think I mean when I say you need to journal?
Well, I guess what comes to your mind? Yeah. So it's different for different people. But for me, I know journaling is either stream of consciousness. So it's not Dear Diary. Like, that's not, at least it's not for me, but it's stream of consciousness or insights. A lot of the time my journaling is, I don't know, I've come out of a coaching session and I've got some insights, or there's something about my business that just lands into my head and I'll write those things down.
Because it feels, I think for me, what used to occur is if I think about journaling, it feels like effort, like journaling equals effort. And I'm not good at putting words down as such. I guess when I'm talking about journaling, it's a bullet point.
Yeah. Okay.
That not only can be just put in a book. It's like I've got a note on my Apple iPhone, a note section where the minute throughout the day something happens, I'll bullet point it.
Okay.
So it's not really that you are reflecting, thinking about it, trying to work out the symbols that's just happened.
It's just a hit.
Clear one-liner fact.
Okay. That is so important that you're saying that, because like I have Post-it notes galore. I have the voice notes. Like that's another thing that I think if you're not a journaler, then leaving yourself a voice note is another way to be able to do it. I used to leave myself voicemail messages back in the day, but it literally is just capturing that information somewhere so you can look back at it.
Yeah, it's really not around reflecting, because again, if you are doing any type of like big process, where's it coming from? Your mind.
Yeah, if you're not in that meditative state,
Yeah, exactly. So as an example, this happens to me all the time because I'm plugged in constantly. The first few seconds of waking up, I always get intuition. It can be simple as think of Diane. So I will think of Diane.
Thanks.
Thought of Diane. And then a few seconds later, when you text me, I'm like, that's why. So I'll write, if you text me. That's it. So you basically, it's almost like two colored pens. You write what happened and the validation.
Okay.
Obviously that was a bit of a silly example, but let me try and think of something that's happened over the last couple of days. Okay, good one. Yesterday I was in the middle of work and suddenly thought about my son's teacher, made a note, again, awareness on it. A few minutes later, she called asking me to pick up my son from school. And when I say that I just thought of my son's teacher, there was not only a clairvoyant image of her phoning me, I got a feeling and a knowing that I would need to go to school.
Right.
So I just note that. Now, obviously, you can't always just be writing things down, but what I try and do is make, really spend a few seconds to like edge that in and write it when I can do, or pick up my phone, make a note. You only do that for the first month of developing intuition, really.
Because you're tuning into it and you're building the evidence bank too.
Yeah. So then you end up with dot points of pages of evidence. So you can just flick to it anytime and go, oh yeah, this is not coincidence. Oh yeah, this is not just me thinking like of this silly thing, you've just got a lot of evidence built up.
So it's funny you say that, because I realize that I do this in a different way. So I follow like a moon cycle. I will always, on a new moon and a full moon, I will set intentions and do clearing, but there are things that I always write down, always journal. And there was a longer cycle, say from new moon in Gemini to full moon in Gemini, that cycle. I was like, I'm just going to go back and look at what I put in terms of, what I was putting out into the universe, what I was hoping to manifest, what I wanted to change for my life. And that moment of, because I had the evidence, it wasn't like, what was I thinking back in November?
Yes, exactly.
It's like, no, I had this piece of paper that had everything. And I was like, holy shit, so much of this stuff is coming to life. But I probably, because we're not great at clapping ourselves on the back at the best of times, but you'll just keep moving forward to the next thing and the next thing. So if you're capturing it, we get what we measure. If you write it down, you can always go back and look at it. So, okay, Liz, I need to do this. If you're anything
like me, you're forgetful. Like I'm super forgetful. I'll doubt myself a lot. Like, oh my God, 6 months ago, I thought that, but I didn't write it down anywhere. I'm going to doubt myself and then think, oh no, that's just a coincidence. Whereas when you just note things down, it's the proof. And if you even again just do that for a short period of time and start to build that evidence bank, you'll start to see that it amplifies your clairsenses. So everything gets a hell of a lot stronger and clearer, and you start to feel happier. You start to feel more joy. You have and live with a sense of trust that that number one, you're always going to be okay, and that you're going to know what to do if a situation arises. And when you live like that, geez, how good.
Absolutely. It's the trust in yourself, and it's not needing that external validation and not running around for answers from everybody else. It's like, you know that you know that you know, and you trust that you'll be okay.
Oh, and honestly, it's just so awesome for me. Like I teach people come to me on the day one of my Develop Your Intuition courses, and they're like, I've got no idea, I'm not intuitive. And then literally within 4 weeks, they're like, holy shit, my life has literally changed. You
But
know,
how good is
difference in the
that?
energy is just mind blowing. And the stories that get shared in the groups, you just can't make this shit up, you know, just absolutely brilliant.
And I think what I know to be true for both of us, like, I mean, we have change maker in our blood. It's like, it's not just enough for you to do the readings and then it's a one-time engagement and that person goes off. It's like, well, now that you're driven and compelled to teach people and you can see the joy of their transformation over whether it's a 4-week period or those who, you know, work with you longer, but it is, you get the joy of knowing that ripple effect. It's like for us doing the podcast, you know, the podcast and not having a connection with our listeners was never good enough for us. It's like we were always born to do the channel where we can get, you know, our listeners to come on and talk to us as well and do some of these exercises with us. It's like, it's that engagement, that sense of community, that sense of just, supporting people to be the absolute best that they can be and having that intuition-led life.
Absolutely. I mean, I suggest that everyone invest 5 to 10 minutes over the next couple of days and sit down and think about where you are having blocks in your life. What areas of your life are you stuck with that circle going around and around in your head? And take a step back from it and try and get out of your head. Send to yourself, and just even for the next, I don't know, I say 5 days, but I really want you to commit to longer than that. Just try going from somewhere else, work on expanding your energy, and just actually tell me what happens. We're all so psychic. That's the thing. Yeah. Should we do an exercise, Diane?
Yes, let's do it. We'll wrap it up with an exercise. Absolutely.
I mean, for anybody that follows me on Instagram, you'll see that I'm constantly throwing out intuitive exercises. And
yes, you
so
are.
Much fun when people get it right. But how about we just do a nice, simple exercise that all of our listeners can do at home? And maybe, just maybe, you can give us a message on Instagram on telling us what the answer is. And maybe in a week, I might announce the answer, Diane. What do you think?
Oh, sounds good. Yes.
Or I can do it. I can put the answer on a post perhaps. So then if anyone's listening to it at a later date, they can come back to the post.
They can come back to it. Yeah.
Okay,
sounds
cool.
Good. Okay.
All right. So I want you to put feet on the ground. Just ground yourself. And we're going to do a psychic exercise. Now, this can tap into any one of the clairs. So you can tap into that clairvoyance. So the information might come by you literally seeing the answer. You might hear it drop in from your own voice. You might just get just know this. You might get a feeling. Now, it can come in any different way. I'm not going to go too much further than that, but I want you now just to picture 3 different shapes in front of you. Just take a big deep breath as well, Diane, so I can just get connected, or you can blow the candles out. Now, there's going to be 3 shapes. Visually see this. We've got a circle, big round circle. We've got a big black cross. And we've got a big black triangle. We've got the circle on the left. We've got the cross in the middle. And we've got the triangle on the right-hand side. Now I'm going to choose and write down one shape on a piece of paper in front of me. And I will take a picture of this afterwards. Okay, now I've already prepared this, so I don't need to draw it right now. And I'm looking at it now. And I want you to see intuitively what comes through. Now, if you know what your dominant clair is, I want you to try and get it from that place.
Oh, it didn't come from my dominant clair, which I was surprised by.
Okay, what did you think it was?
Triangle. And I saw it. It was a visual.
Okay, great. And so you saw that. Okay, excellent. All right, you can open your eyes, Diane. So we will announce that at a later date.
Oh, you're going to have to tell me after recording. You're going to have to tell me. I can't wait for it.
I encourage everyone to write it on the post. Yeah. Now, what I want to say here is I say this to all my students, right? Because we're not used to operating from this place of our rational thinking mind. We're brought up in a life where we really want to be right? We really want to be right. And when it comes to this journey of intuition and psychic senses, the hardest thing is to get out of your own way. So a lot of times when we're trying to get information, our ego will still speak. All right. And you've got to work out what the voice of the ego sounds like up to what the voice of intuition is like. So the key to developing this muscle is to actually get this wrong a million times. All right, you've almost got to get it
like everything.
wrong.
Practice. It's fall off the bike, fall off the bike, fall off the bike. Oh, I can cycle today. It's like, yeah, we've just got to do it.
What I started to realize for me, when I started to do intuitive exercises, I sucked. Like, no joke. Like, and again, I'm even quite intuitive. I was psychic at that point, but I was, when it came to doing the exercise, every single time I got it wrong. And I started to look at, well, where is this information coming and how is it coming to me? And what would happen was I'd close my eyes to get an answer and I'd get one really quickly. And do you know what I realized? That's never the right way for me to get information, because that comes from my head.
So this is fascinating because, okay, I'm going to have to make a confession here now. But
is that where yours came from?
Liz's, no, but your posts, so Liz's posts on Instagram, which, I think there was, say 3 feathers, just as an example, in which, which color feather have I chosen? So when I see these, I had been, playing along in my own head and kind of thinking, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I just suck at these. I suck so badly. I'm really not getting, so I'm thinking to myself, I really, really suck at all of this. And then to the point of when I would see them, I would get the shits with it and it'd be like, I'm not even going to guess this. Like, almost like a cranky child, like, really just, I'm not even going to bother. But again, that's the brain trying to keep me safe and kind of thinking, no, this is not something that you want to be dabbling in. It's like, you don't be guessing what this feather color is. But if you break through that, but what you're saying now is, so the very first thing you get is not necessarily the right one.
No. And I've realized, so
tell me now, use me as a guinea pig to say, what should I, because I gave it was like the immediate answer that had dropped in for me. And I can still see what I saw in my mind, but coach me through or teach me through what I maybe should have been doing. Because again, I disregarded what you said to me, which was, tune into your primary sense. So for me, my primary sense is, it's clairsentience, claircognisance. But of course, it wasn't claircognizance. It wasn't like, I know that this is the triangle. It wasn't that. So what should I have done?
Now, what I can say here is that every single person is going to receive this differently.
Of course, of course.
But for me, all right, when I realized that really quick answer is never right, I'm like, oh God. And then, I really tried this out a lot. I had to kind of really figure this out. But for me, it was go past the first thing, breathe, really center myself, expand my energy, set a very clear intention. All right. Using so the intention is the key here. All right.
Okay. Which is not where I went to. Yep.
Yeah. So again, the quick thing is always the mind. Well, not always. Some people still can receive their information fast.
Yeah.
But set the intention. So show me the answer using, for me, it would be clairsentience.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And I might get a feeling that it's something, but at the same time, I might see the word or hear the sound.
Yeah.
All right. So a few can play in at the same time here, but it tends to be the one pushing through. And Diane, I love that you've been honest, because that happens to nearly all of the students that come through.
Yeah.
When they first start doing the exercises, they go that really quick thought, they're like, bang. And they're like, what?
And you're so sure of it, because I was thinking to myself, oh my God, the fact that I came in so fast, that has to be it. But I think also our sense of our brain doesn't want to be wrong. It is that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so you just had something come through there. I know enough. Something has just intuitively landed for you.
It was a prompt for me, right? So when I broke it down, and let's say I'm shown 3 shapes. It was the circle, the cross, and the triangle. What happens in my brain is I actually get one and go with another because I think, oh no, that one's too obvious. And I block myself and go to another one.
Okay, that's me playing Trivial Pursuit. That's it's like, oh, here's the answer. No, it's
get an answer, change your mind. Again, like the whole changing your mind thing or doubting is going to happen. So that's why like constant exercises. And look, I do these exercises with my kids every day. Every single day. It can be as simple as having like a pack of cards around your house and starting simple, like 2 cards. You might have hearts and diamonds. And playing a game with your kids, like put them behind your back, choose one, and I'm going to tell you what it is. and doing it over and over and over again.
We play cards every day in this house. Like, we
go.
love card games. So that they're now, we've just added a new spin onto it. So
yeah. You know, another way we've mentioned it, you know, in the energy episode is like, if you feel that you are very good at tuning into feeling and reading between the lines and, you know, tapping into people's emotions, like that in itself is a simple one to do when you're going to work, or, you know, you're about your friend calls, like spending a couple of seconds internally going like, how is this person feeling?
Yes.
You know, and just starting to practice and play around with it, and it will just amplify.
And I know for me, and again, it's probably because of my work as a coach or as a facilitator, this sensing, and because that is my primary sense as well, it's the sensing and the feeling into the energy of people. So even before I go into a coaching session or before I go and talk on stage, those are the things that I do. And I think I need to be mindful of. So what's coming to me now is, that's the place I need to be in internally. And I can't really describe it, but that's the place I need to be internally to be able to answer these questions. So if I'm coming to answer, okay, which one of these shapes is it? That was not the place. I was in a much more intellectually driven rather than really, really centered into my energy field and into my core. Like and
that's where like, you know, in any type of spiritual practice around the world, you're always taught something like grounding and be centered, because you can't get these glimpses of truth from your mind. It's impossible. So for you to get to a place where you can trust and actually act, because again, we can all learn intuition and start to feel in and get great answers, but unless you act, then it's kind of a waste of time as well, right? Like you've got to kind of take the plunge. You've got to jump off the cliff. You've got to start to see.
You've got to live life. You've got to do things.
It's scary. You know, even me into this journey now, for some reason, I have this thing with pregnancy. Like I get told everyone who's going to be pregnant.
Oh,
every single time around me. It's hilarious. Actually, apart from one that's just recently happened this week, and I was like, damn it.
How did I not know?
Well pissed off. But, you know, I was sat, I think last week eating, and then suddenly got a flash of someone that I haven't seen for like 2 years. And I just picked up my phone automatically and went, are you having a baby by any chance? And he literally just texted me back straight back, a mind blown sign.
Right.
And when we're not, but we've just had the conversation about trying for a baby.
Okay. So it's on the radar big time anyway. Yeah.
You can start. And I mean, obviously not all intuitive hits you're going to go and say out loud to somebody, but you can, if you're confident enough and you can start to build that confidence, it's worth just saying it out loud. If it's something small or fun
so you can get the validation. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just, because all of this is going through my mind, and yes, this is intellectual processing now, but it is me thinking, like, starting out what you had said about, you know, us going from that information age, so information overload. And yes, with AI now, it's like so much more data is being crunched, so much more content is being pumped out. So that overload of information, but really what you're encouraging us to do, what you're, you know, giving us exercises to do, is really have the tools to equip us for the intuition age. And for those of us, like for me, this is my, you know, I guess my clairvoyant side of it, just thinking, and that's it. It's like, I'm always thinking about what's the next set of skills that people need to be effective in the workplace, to be effective in their life. And it's like, if you are looking for that cutting edge over information, over technology, over, you know, AI, if you're worried about your job in terms of, you know, job loss, those sorts of things that, you know, the fear that consumes people about it, invest in your intuition, because if we are heading towards the intuition age, that's not something that can be taken away from you.
I've had countless insights over the last 12 months about the whole world stepping into an intuition era. And what I want you to do is think back 20 odd years when someone, you know, started to put out there this simple technique that had been around for forever and ever and ever of meditation. All right. And when people started to meditate, there was a whole bunch of the world was like, oh, what's that stupid spiritual practice that's really woo-woo? And look at meditation now. It's understood scientifically. It's in the corporate workplace.
Absolutely.
We understand the mindfulness and the health benefits from meditation. The insights that I receive now is based on people understanding and reconnecting with intuition exactly the same way. And I mean, meditation is one part of trusting yourself.
Yes.
And if you can commit now, before we even jump into the intuition era, to actually starting to understand this, you are leading the way. Like, you are going to be that intuitive leader that is in front of technology, is in front of what is about to happen. Yeah. And I mean, I've been made very clear that I'll be teaching intuitive leadership for a while now. And I think that it's just super important for everyone just to live a better life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whether it's life, career, business, all the different facets that, make us up as human beings, having a, like, we're still having that human experience, regardless of how spiritual we think we are. We have to live in the here and now, but having the best possible experience for ourselves and for others, like, what a great way to be able to do that. And yes, if you haven't heard it already, you've heard it here first from Liz. We are entering the intuition era. And these are some of the skills that you need for it. So Liz, thank you from me, like, regardless of the listeners, you always educate me on a daily basis anyway, but I just want to say thank you for this. For our listeners who are listening in, please do the exercises. Please message us and let us know.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear your intuition stories, 100%.
Absolutely. And keep an eye out for the channel, which we will be doing more and more of those online events, the channel, just so we can have conversations, that it's not just me and Liz chatting to ourselves or inviting in guests, that we can actually get that sense of community growing, where we're talking about this and learning from each other, because Liz and I definitely don't know it all. We love hearing what everybody else is doing. So thank you all for joining us, and yes, welcome to the intuition era. That's it for another episode.
Thank you for listening. Did you know that we are building a movement of 1 million people who are spiritual as fuck? We would love for you to join us. You can start by leaving us a review on Apple Podcast. Every month, I'm going to intuitively choose one person and do a psychic reading for you. So
follow us on Instagram, send in your stories and topic suggestions, and join the movement
at spiritual.a.f. Until next time.
This is a Guide Your Light Network production, creating podcasts with purpose.